Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let's see. Sorry. Uh, this is the Yoast SEO update. I'm Carolyn Shelby,
I'm Alex Moss.
and this is where we're going to run through recent search news updates, patterns that we're watching, and just talk honestly about what we think they mean.
Yeah, and we'll also separate what we know from what we're still testing or speculating about.
And then we'll wrap up with some Q&A at the end, and we will try to hustle to make sure that we have time to do all of that because I know it gets tight sometimes. So, a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you have questions, there's a Q&A thing at the side. You feel free to ask questions. If you ask them in the chat, we might miss them. So if you put them in the Q&A, it will be better because everyone will see them and we will not miss them. If you would like to learn more about today's topic, you can go to our website. The short link is yoa.st, which spells Yoast, /August 2026. There will be a recording afterwards. Everyone always asks, answer's always the same. There will absolutely be a recording afterwards. So don't you fear. Also, if you are interested in not looking at our lovely faces, but hearing the sounds of our melodious voices, you can now find us on Spotify. The SEO Update by Yoast podcast is available on Spotify. There's a QR code on your screen right now. And if you are listening and not watching, you can also find it by going to yoa.st. Again, that spells Yoast /podcast. PODCAST. So very exciting. You can listen to us in the car. You can listen to us while you run, while you cook, all of the things that you might be doing when you listen to podcasts. And then, as always, we have our little helpful icons. The stopwatch means immediate impact, which you're not going to see if you're just listening to us, but we'll try to mention that. And the chess pieces are long-term strategy. So good to know, maybe not immediately actionable, but should be filed away for future reference. I feel like we're missing. Oh, no.
No, we're not. We're not.
Okay. I'm like, why are we just jumping into the news? And I forgot
Because
that
we've
we
done
changed things
something
up.
different. It's not part of the formula.
Okay. Why don't you take this then? Because now I'm confused.
Okay, well, there's a poll question that we're going to do that we have been doing the previous months, but I thought, why don't we share the actual news item that this poll relates to, just in case you've missed it. So this is about Google expanding a preferred sources button, and you may have seen them out on some publications when it goes added as a preferred source. But now Google have made a bit more emphasis on it. They've done a couple of blog posts about, personalization, and that includes having your own preferred sources where you can now add, I don't know, Yoast.com as a preferred source. Please do. And as a result, you get more visibility when you're looking at people's feeds. And as a feed user, you'll see more from that publication. So with that, we have our poll question. So yes, the poll question. But before we do, we don't mean to shout at you, even though it's in caps. We would like you to answer in the actual poll area, not in the chat, please, because I know everyone gets quite excited, don't they? So there's two poll questions as well. So what are they, Carolyn?
So the question is, have you tried Google's new preferred source button yet? And the two questions are, have you tried it as a site owner? So have you put it on your own site and made it available to others? Or have you tried it as a reader, which means you've seen it and you've clicked on it and now you're reaping the benefits of having done so. So we would like both answers. And we'll see what happens at the end of the show.
I
But
mean,
again, don't answer in the chat.
no, and everyone's being very cooperative. Thank you. I think we've got 110 votes around on both of them. They're both going up. So thank you very much for that. That was a
Awesome.
really good engagement.
Good job, everybody.
Yeah, that'll do well for our KPIs. Thank you very much.
All right. So vote quick. I'm sure you all see where to do
We
that.
have.
Clearly 110 of you do. So that's awesome. Keep voting. And again, we'll go over the results at the end. All right. Now let's get into the SEO and AI news and make sure that we're done in time to do some heavy Q&A at the end. Ready?
Let's go. Let's do this.
All right. So the first one, Google Trends has announced that they're adding comparison over time data. Google Trends, I don't know if you guys have used it. It's a free site trends.google.com that will show you in real time, like up to the minute, how not necessarily the volume at which something is being searched, but the relative volume compared to what it was before. So if you went from if something was never ever searched before and then all of a sudden it was searched 5 times, that will show a colossal spike and the velocity will be great. So what it's basically doing is giving you not just specific terms, but clusters of terms and showing you the different ways in which people search for something. For example, during COVID, um, when I was at ESPN at the time, and we were monitoring how people referenced coronavirus, because in the beginning it was the coronavirus and it was the Rona and it was all of those phrases. But at some point it flipped and it's people started calling it COVID and then COVID-19
Mhm.
and then maybe just back to COVID. So it was very interesting to see why the trends on those changes, because if you wanted to rank well in Google News, you wanted to use the phrase that the most people were searching and the phrase that was on the ascendancy. We would do the same thing with um, how we would address the NCAA tournament, so the big basketball tournament, March
Yeah.
Madness. For a long time in the beginning, everyone would call it the tournament, or maybe they'd call it the dance. There were different names for it, but at one point during the tournament, when you narrow it down to, there's like the Sweet 16, then I forget what they call the 8, but then the Final 4. It's pretty much just the tournament until it flips to Final 4, and once it flips, you can see it in the graph that no one's searching for tournament anymore and everyone's searching for Final 4, so if we wanna be in Google News, we would we would go with Final 4. It's a great place. I'm spending way too much time on this. Um, it's a great place it's a great tool for seeing what's popular, and the reason I'm talking about it this much is because I don't think enough of you are using it. So, it's a free tool, and now you can see the changes over time. The only time you're not going to see changes over time is if it's a brand new term that didn't exist before. So when coronavirus came out, because it was novel, which means it was new, there was no historical data and you weren't going to see that. But for anything that has existed before, you are going to get that historical data and it's going to be very helpful. And because this is a free tool, I strongly, strongly, strongly urge that everybody at least go take a peek and play with it a little bit. Okay?
100%, 100%. I've also added a link to the Google trend for SEO. As you can see, SEO is very much not dead by the look of that trend graph.
That is very refreshing. All right, let's keep moving because I kinda took over that. Do you wanna talk about Cloudflare?
Yeah, Cloudflare are introducing new controls for AI content access, and they're doing a little bit more that we'll do. And also, actually, it was also in the news, so it isn't worthy of a whole item. They're doing things like digital wallets as well, where bots would have to pay for access. They're going down a certain route. That Cloudflare are also doing stuff with OpenAI as well that wasn't again newsworthy, but they're in talks about making a new search index and things like that. I'm interested to see how it's going to go because you and I have been talking for ages about how the web is splitting into two, an agentic one and a human based one, or an open web and maybe a closed off agentic web. And maybe this is the first iterations of that happening, and how it's going to play a part in what happens on the internet as a whole and how we consume it. I'm quite interested to see what happens. At the moment, I don't know, these controls that they were putting on that stopped Googlebot from doing stuff. I know that Googlebot said made no difference whatsoever as well, because they don't have to abide by they're what are they? They're not declarations. They're
They're
declarations.
directives,
Yeah,
but they're
directives,
but
that's it.
they're not enforceable declarations. It's like the International Court of Justice. They can make all the rules they want, but, who's really gonna enforce them? So, it's sort of an honor system as to whether or not the crawlers abide by them. You can set your own crawlers to go rogue and ignore robots.txt. There's no enforcement mechanism. So, it's not like someone's going to throw you in jail or fine you. Um, and it's interesting that the takeaway here is that Cloudflare can do what they like, but if Google says, "I that's cute, I don't care," then Google doesn't care and it's not going to do anything.
Hmm. It's
So,
interesting though what they're doing, but these again are the beginnings. How it's going to affect us isn't going to be something we're going to even notice quite yet. I think they're just testing the waters. But I think Cloudflare, well, I know all these tech firms are throwing mud at the wall. Cloudflare has a lot of mud. They have a massive wall, and it's not like they've got time per se, but it seems like they're shipping something. Sometimes
So
there's a week and they ship something every single day that week.
So, Katerina, I just saw in the chat that what you read said that Google it will stop Google bots from indexing on 9:15. The article that we have says that Google doesn't have any intention of honoring the block. So it sounds like that we've read different things. My interpretation is that Cloudflare can put the block in, but it's not an enforceable block. If it's adding it to the robots.txt, that's different than Cloudflare administratively enforcing the block at their end, which Cloudflare is capable of doing. If you don't have Cloudflare, none of this matters.
Mm.
Um, if they're only putting it in their users robots.txt, Google can ignore it, and that's Google's choice. If they do something at the Cloudflare level, because Cloudflare is basically a gate that the traffic all the stuff has to move through, right? If Cloudflare closes the gate be closed, and there's nothing anybody can do about that. That would be where you have to go, I don't agree with this block. I would like to either open up the gate for myself, or I might have to switch away from Cloudflare, kind of thing. But the information that we have is it's not an enforced gate. It's a robots.txt directive, and robots.txt directives cannot be aggressively enforced.
Mm.
So I
Unlike a
just
gate, I was thinking it's more of like a red button outside a building with a sign on top of it saying "Do not press the red button." If they're going to press it, they're going to press it. Do you know what I mean? If they want to access it, they will, and this isn't going to stop them from doing that. It really
and
isn't. In fact, it'll probably mean a bit of war, but I don't know. I think the more interesting thing, maybe, Katerina, is the next episode of the SEO update, because it will have been at least 2 weeks after it will have taken effect. So right now, not that it's speculation, but no one knows what's actually going to happen as a
yeah.
result. And remember, these aren't existing domains. Any domains that are in Cloudflare right now, nothing's going to change on the 15th of September. It's only for anything new that you may add in the future. And I would like to think that Cloudflare are going to give you enough obvious notices to tell you what they're doing and give you every opportunity to not do the things that he said it was going to do on default.
Well, maybe, maybe not. Cloudflare's gotten so big that they might be in a position now where they don't care if they give you enough notice, because it's such a pain to move away from them. So that, I mean, that's an entirely different business discussion. But
Yeah.
we should keep rolling. All right. Google has updated the product structured data guidance, and this is important for all of our users who are on WooCommerce or Shopify or have some kind of business where you've got a product feed. Have you read about this, Alex?
Yeah, they're just adding more support, right? So again, that doesn't mean that so very quickly Yoast stuff's all good, and things that we've already implemented stuff that goes beyond what Google initially support to make sure that the schema is valid as a whole. So Google takes some of the schema it needs as a display feature or whatever it wants to do, and sometimes it doesn't take 100% of those things. So here it's just taking a bit more, and obviously it needs to update the documentation. Yoast users don't need to do anything. Anyone who's got a good product schema and valid product schema don't need to do anything here. They're just telling you that this is something more that can be used. So it says the new category product was added. So it's just a bit more of hierarchy and information architecture that agents and crawlers and so on and feeds will need for that. But you don't need to do anything if you sorted already, I guess. But just something to note.
So, up next, we have Google Search Console has
Mm.
expanded reporting to social and video platforms. And this is kind of exciting because now, instead of having to try to get your social reporting from other products and then merge it into a single dashboard, you can do a lot of the tracking all in this self-contained dashboard. It saves time with reporting, but it's also interesting to see how these other channels that you are utilizing are working together, and sort of creates a more holistic view of your performance and the different channel contributions to that overall performance. Um, apparently this is also working for creators who don't have their own website. And I think as AI changes the way we monetize websites and the way we
Mhm.
monetize traffic and clicks, um, this is going to become more important because if you're not making money having a website because you can't monetize you don't can't run the ads, you're not getting the same level of clicks on the ads, so there's no it's not viable monetarily. What's the point in having a website? If all you need is a TikTok account or all you need is a YouTube account, there's no reason to put up a website just so that you can artificially track this useless channel. So this means that Google is kind of acknowledging that for certain industries and certain business models, websites are decreasingly important and people are going to be moving to I'm just a YouTube presence or I'm just a
Mm.
TikTok presence, and they're letting you track that. So I think this is interesting for a couple reasons. Number 1, it's great information, and I love that it's all in one place. And number 2, I see it as kind of a tacit, acknowledgement that the click economy is changing, and you may not need a website to run a successful business unless you're selling things. I think if you're selling things, you still need a website. But if you were a publisher who was just monetizing ads, maybe that's going to change for you in the future.
Yeah, and it is good that you're getting data from somewhere external to the platform, which is
Mhm.
funny because Google doesn't like third-party platforms and analytics, do they? That's another story later on. But it is actually good that you're getting. So if you've got an X profile, all you could really rely on was the analytics inside X and how people found you inside X, nowhere else. Here, at least you get, well, here's how you're getting cited, maybe within in Google search itself, which is really good because it's another surface that people are going from. But one thing that I found interesting, I don't know if I even shared it with you, is that I connected my X account and I got an email about a week after. And then it goes on the 6th of August, we started collecting Google search impressions for your profile on X in Search Console. This is the important sentence. Remember, Google are very good at choosing words, aren't they? They're very good at selecting words, right? This sentence. This means that your posts are now appearing in Google search results. Take the word now, really important. This means that your posts are now appearing in Google search results. Now, I don't think that implies that it wasn't before or it's going to more in the future. But also remember that Google are very good at choosing their words wisely. And I wonder if there's anything in that actually connecting. If you're, and where's the data? Is any more data being connected once you're making a connection between the profile and Google? Does something happen? Are you going to get brownie points for it, maybe, and more visibility? I don't know, but I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it.
I think there was a dispute at one point where, and I don't remember if this happened when Twitter got bought by Elon Musk or if that was even before, but I know that the access to the data was dramatically reduced. So it wasn't like Google was getting the fire hose of data out of Twitter, because I know it was in the beginning. And Twitter was a great way to get indexed in Google. It was great. And then that got cut off. And I
Mhm.
think that Twitter or maybe it was X, was trying to charge Google for that access. And having this connection might be sort of a backdoor way for them to get access to that data again,
Mm. It'd
even
be
if it's on a
interesting to
one.
see how it expands. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not a huge influencer, so there's not much I can do from my X profile. And I don't have
sure.
TikTok, and there was another one. There was
Everybody
TikTok
follows
and
you.
something else. Of course they do. All of them. Yeah, everyone on the planet. Me and Elon Musk. It's us two against the world. What's the let's go with the next story. We got still got loads more, and we're already at 20
Sorry.
past. This is like a continuation of the product structured data that I thought we'd add. Google Merchant Center. It's not organic, I guess. It's more for paid and shopping and all of that. But that structured data that's getting supported happened 3 days before it expanded stuff inside Merchant Center. And oh, look, it's got the category property in there again. So it's showing it both organically. So anything you do on the SEO side, the SEO takeaway is perfect. Review product structured data, make sure it's it's all good. And then now it's going to bring out the category part of the extra support in both organic and merchant center.
It's all good, and I'm glad that they're doing these kinds of things because the merchants are becoming increasingly important to everything.
Yeah.
Let's keep rolling. This was an interesting thing that you showed me. OpenAI is coming out with a modifiable little keyboard that doesn't have alphanumeric keys on it. It's just got little shortcut keys, and they've got little pictures on them, which is interesting for a number of reasons. One of the things that you and I were talking about in the break was that this might be the beginning of the end of typing as we know it. So just like when typewriters came out, that was sort of the beginning of the end of people having beautiful penmanship and even
Mm.
knowing how to read and write cursive. This could be the beginning of the end of typing, which what kind of dinosaur does that make me? Because I have lovely handwriting
Yeah.
and I can type, and I'm not going to need that anymore.
Exactly, but before people go, "Oh yeah, like that's gonna happen," like I don't know how many people here own a fountain pen or a quill. To be fair, my wife on her desk over here has got a quill and everything, but she doesn't write in it now anymore. She still writes. She loves writing on paper, and there are people like that. These weirdos who write on paper
Shut
now. But
up.
now, even then, it's that is it evolution? I think it's the evolution, definitely, because we're no longer writing in cursive or anything, and maybe that changes the way that we even communicate in the future. I don't know. Look how
Well,
far down the rabbit hole we've got quickly.
I think we're headed towards, pictures on keypads. So if you guys
Exactly. I don't. If
if you
anyone
haven't seen
doesn't
this
know
movie,
this
go watch this
reference,
movie.
yeah, if anyone either you're one of two people now. You either are wondering what the hell that image is, or you're laughing very hard right now. And if you're not laughing very hard, there is a film called Idiocracy out there. It was made by someone called Mike Judge, who made Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill and Silicon Valley, and this. And I don't even want to do the plot, but just watch it and resonate with it. That's all I'd say, and be up for a laugh as well.
Somebody in the chat asked, "Isn't this just the same as mapping a keyboard shortcut?" That's exactly what it is,
Yes.
but it's taking away the keyboard. So all you would be doing is mapping all these shortcuts that you use on a regular basis, and then pushing the buttons to answer the questions that your agent is asking you. So I don't know if anyone's built anything with Claude, but it'll start doing things and be like, is it okay if I do this? Yes or no? Is
Mhm.
it okay if I do this? Is it okay if I do this? And basically, you spend 6 hours babysitting and answering questions. Yes, you can go ahead and do this. Yes, you can do this. You can do this too. No, don't ask me that again. So it would be mapping those things. What are the pictures on the keys? The pictures on the keys here, I can't exactly see, but my understanding is that it comes with a big selection of keys and you can kind of pick and choose which ones you like and then do your own mapping. So if you never ever get asked a question that requires a yes answer, which obviously you wouldn't because I'm just trying to come up with an example, you don't have to use that key.
Mhm.
So it's it's gonna be an interesting time.
It
Speaking of
is.
interesting times, AI overviews can now generate images in its answers. Have you seen it do this yet, Alex?
No, I haven't personally yet. Oh wait, I think it made a graph for me when I asked for something, but it was a test. It wasn't like I was just doing it, as part of my daily life. I was testing it because of this. Um, but yeah, it's really interesting. And I speak about Andre Karpathy quite, or Karpathy. I'm going to go with Karpathy. He's the co-founder of OpenAI, and now he works at Anthropic. And he talks about neural systems and vision, and the way in which inputs and outputs work, um, and this is part of it. And that the way we output is changing. The output that we want to receive is changing, and it's not just with the ten rankings. The SERP hasn't just gone and changed into a response. The response is also evolving at the same time as well. So now, if we go back to ChatGPT, it was just text and formatted text. That's it. But now we are getting what we would call rich results inside it, and this is rich results on crack. Is that the term? It's or on steroids. It's now taking that to a different level, and maybe if you talk about trigonometry now and you search about trigonometry, is it what Pythagoras? It'll show you it instead of talk to you about it for you to read, because actually showing you is easier than reading about the answer, and that's what it's doing. But it can do videos and interactivity, HTML, all of those things where, I don't know, the search results that we see isn't going to be the search result that we imagine right now.
I think the implication for us as publishers is that we need to make sure, and this has always been a good SEO practice, but I think this reinforces it. We need to make sure that we're being descriptive, as descriptive as possible when it's necessary, because what you don't want to do is leave anything open to interpretation so that when they're rendering these images, they don't take liberties. Because when they have to put a puzzle together, if they don't have all the pieces, they'll make pieces to fill things in. And if you haven't given them enough data points to generate an accurate picture, some of the things that they make up to complete the image that they're trying to make might be wrong.
Hmm.
If you don't specify that this product that you have is, you know, 1/160th scale in size, they might show it with a human being next to it doing things with it, and then the user has the wrong idea about what it is. It's a dollhouse couch, not a real people couch, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it's only $3. But the image, you just need to make sure that you're providing all of the important details when you describe anything, so that in case the machines try to render it as a visual, they have all the important parts correct.
Yeah. Fun
All right.
times.
So Google's now letting users connect their apps directly to AI mode. Again, we are bypassing the websites, bypassing the search, going straight into Google's talking to the apps directly and making things happen, and the users being taken out of the process, really.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. There's someone that we work with called Alan Schlesser, a great engineer, and we've been speaking for about a year about how websites are dying, and everything that has happened since is proving the point that maybe the websites, they're not dying, maybe in the sense that you and I and everyone else picture a website, but the role of a website, the current role of a website may be dying or on a decrease. And what's happening here is that maybe there won't be websites per se, but more connections to data sources. And that's exactly what's happening here. And not that there won't be websites, but it's just a layer that you may or may not want to look at if you wanted to. But if not, you can take that layer away and strip it down to an OS level where it's just you and your phone, and you can connect to whatever you want to without accessing lots of different things. That connectivity and seamlessness is, don't know, it's going to have a lot of pros and cons at the same time. Cons mainly around privacy and data and security and all of that, but all the pros, I don't know, are going to be very good. And in the next couple of years are going to make, but I think every year that passes we're going to say, do you remember what we were doing a couple of years ago? How backwards were we?
It's not backwards. It's just, everything's moving so quickly now. Yeah. So I'm going to take a minute to talk about this. I don't want to take too much time, but I think one of the things that this directly speaks to immediately is, and I had a couple of these conversations last week at WordCamp US, the the things that we put on our pages and the way that we publish our pages now, when we would do things like we need to put things in accordions or hide things in
Hmm.
panels to make it a better user experience, the human users are not coming to the page. The human users are getting their information out of whatever AI interface they're in. So scrunching up and hiding content on your web page in the interest of making it shorter so humans read the whole thing,
Hmm.
it's not a valid requirement anymore, because the odds that a human is going to come look at that page to get the information when they could just ask an LLM for that same information, the LLM will just go retrieve it for them, and they don't have to scan and take all that extra time to go find it. Like, they're not going to be doing that. So I would reevaluate new pages that you're creating where you're thinking about the UX and, oh, we should do this for the people and we should do that for the people, especially when the things that you're doing for the people will make it more difficult for the LLMs to extract that data. I looked at a Teams page, a team member page just
Yep.
yesterday, and only 3 of the team members were exposed at the top, and everyone else was below you have to click here to see everyone else, and there were
Hmm.
100 people below those top 3. And yet the LLMs can only see those first 3 people, so it looks like the company has 3 people instead of 103 people. It's,
I think those
it
3 people wanted it that way.
possibly, entirely possible.
Yeah,
Um,
it's before we go to the next one, it was interesting what Steve said that websites becoming cabaret. I don't know. I've always described it as theatre. I guess it's the same thing. But humans love a story, right? And I always do that thing of when you go to an about page and you read 3 sentences and you still don't know what the hell they do. Like that's the cabaret. I guess it's for us. And I guess that a good comparison is if you're going to buy a car, don't you want to see a bit of theatre beforehand? Don't you want to see that story and connect with that product before it's a massive investment, more so than maybe a pair of socks, where you don't need cabaret for socks, do you? You just need a pair of socks. And I think that's where the balance may come in. But you may be a person who just wants to see theatre of socks. And that's you. It's like going into a shop and, when someone comes up to you and says, "Would you like any help?" And I hate it when that happens because I understand the concept of shopping and I feel as though I know what I want. And if I want to approach you, I will. But other people like to be sold to and like being approached and want that help. So it just, I guess it's
I think
personalization, isn't it?
I think you can serve both masters in this case. Someone in the chat asked why LLMs just don't make it so that they can read drop downs and accordions. They could, they're capable of it, but it costs money. It costs tokens. And when they're optimizing for speed and efficiency, that's just extra stuff they don't want to have to accommodate. So it's better for everyone if we work with the way they want to work and make things as fast and streamlined as possible because they can read vast amounts of text in a very, very blink of an eye kind of speed,
Mhm.
but they would have to run processes to render and do all these other things if they want to unroll, all of these JavaScript little doodads that we do to hide text and make things shorter. Um, so that's my TED talk for today. Google is claiming that AI search sends billions of clicks to websites. I feel like this is probably true, but I also feel like it's them going out and clicking on things to pull in answers, and I don't think it's people. They're not eyeballs. They might be clicks, but they're not people clicks.
No,
Um,
yeah. And again, words are not being said this time. They're billions of clicks, which didn't they tell us not to think about things like clicks? And what
they
is it?
told us that when
Hits.
it was convenient for them.
Hits. Exactly. Is it a hit? This is the old session. It's not a real session. It's not that the click isn't a value. That's the important part. Brilliant. Billions of clicks. How many of them are valuable? A lot less than
How
maybe
many
they
of yeah,
were. I don't know.
yeah,
I
does it
think
count
it's
if they all
Google
come from the
PR.
same IP address and that IP is Google?
It's all coming from Mountain View. Maybe you might have to add some Google Analytics profile that does that. I don't know why my camera just went off, but it came back on. Am I still here? I'm still here. Okay,
Gremlins,
cool.
because you were besmirching Google and they
Actually, they're
adapted
getting
them
in.
on.
Google doesn't own Wistia, does it?
Nah,
We're
not
sorry.
yet.
We're sorry. Gemini all the way. Don't use any other LLM.
Nice
But
cover.
yes, so I think it was Liz Reed
Oh,
that claimed all of
yeah.
this, but I don't know. It's Google PR, and yes, entities are clicking on your site, but is that entity a human? That's what's important, I guess, sometimes.
Less and less, I would imagine. So let's keep rolling. Google loses key claims in lawsuit against
Mm,
SerpApi. So the reason this is important for all of us is because when it looked like SerpApi was going to be smushed by the giant fiery fist of Google, everyone's tracking software either stopped working or got very expensive because most of the tracking software that SEOs use is buying data from SERP API. If SERP API is successful against defending against the lawsuit that Google's filed against them, all of our tools are safe. If Google is successful, a lot of our tools will stop working and people will have to either do their own scraping, which is inordinately expensive, or
Mhm.
just stop providing service. So this is interesting for us to watch only because it's going to dramatically affect the tooling that most of us are very dependent on, and it's going to dramatically affect pricing. So let us I don't want to tell you who to root for in a lawsuit, but financially it might be good if we root for SerpApi.
Yeah, Goliath's getting hit by some stones though.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting just in that, these big monopolies think that they can throw their weight around, and most of the time they can. So it's
Mhm.
always kind of exciting when a court sides with someone who's not the monopoly because that and restores your faith in the justice system a little bit.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. A good Netflix doc, I'm sure, will be on in a couple of years. We'll see. Next, open knowledge format, which I don't know if a lot of you know about OKF or open knowledge format. It's a protocol that was made by Google and it's open source and it kind of collects. Think of it as a markdown version of your website and a nice little catalog that's all been nicely hierarchical and compiled together. Very nice for agents to read. Just that it's added 5 trust signals, but it's interesting this the trust signals are there as sources, verification, freshness, lifecycle, and computation. They're opening up this customer lifecycle and loyalty and brand loyalty and all of these things. Maybe to connect more with this cabaret, I don't know, later down the line. But it's using all of these connections, the loyalty that we have as humans to brands, and I think this is just again another stepping stone into the agentic web and how agents are going to handle our preferences and websites and us and the connection between us. All very philosophical, but quite geeky as well. Not something that everyone needs to know about today, but if you're a bit more than beginner, then it's interesting to know.
Absolutely. And I sort of thought initially that this was like the schema thing, the natural web thing
Mhm.
that Microsoft is doing, but this is different. So,
It's gonna be
it's helpful.
interesting to see the adoption.
Yeah, yeah, because they're basically 2 one's a bigger Goliath than the other, but it's 2 Goliaths or Leviathans, I forget what the best way to describe that would be, kind of fighting. It's Godzilla versus King Kong.
Yeah, which again they've made a lot of movies out of them, so let them make more sequels. Cool.
Alright. Google's expanding Search Console reporting for social and AI search. I feel like we may have already covered this.
We did some social, but also I think because we've been off for 2 months, and this is like old news now, is that the generative AI, which was the last time we were online in the update, I think it was rolling out, and since then, every normal person can now get it, and not just someone who's in Mountain View. So now anyone can just go in their Search Console profile, look at generative AI, and have a look at the reporting. Some I don't know. I just think it's very good on long tail. It's good at connecting the pages. But yeah, definitely have a look. Everyone out there, have a look. It's a good little bit of information that you can see how you're looking in things other than the old native SERP.
And speaking of I guess this would be King Kong in the fight. Microsoft Clarity has added branded and non-branded AI query reporting. I've looked at what Clarity's offering, and I do like it. I think it's very it's helpful. I like the way it's grouped. If you're not using Clarity, I believe Clarity's free, just like
It's
Google
free.
Search Console is free. So if you haven't signed up for it, there's no harm in signing up for it. You should try it. Having more data points and more points of view is always beneficial. And it's if it's free, there's no downside. So go ahead and get signed up for that. Um,
100%. There's more stuff than branded, non-branded in here, by the way, guys. There's heat maps as well, heat map recordings, and then it uses those recordings to actually give you good analysis using other data from Bing Webmaster Tools, and I think it even it connects to Google Search Console's profile as well,
I
and
think it does.
GA.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like their version of Data Studio in a way. With a little, obviously Data Studio. You can make your own stuff, and this is pre-built dashboards. But again, this is free. It requires no setup. Anyone without any coding knowledge can add it. Or the only thing you need to do is add the tracking code. But I think from memory, I was able to add it through Tag Manager, or it did it through a wizard. So there's lots of options in there. But use it. And yeah, go for it, guys. It's good. It's good free data.
So, interesting story that happened in early August. Time Magazine, which
Mm.
isn't actually a magazine anymore, serves AI bots a different version of its website. Now, if we recall, this is generally frowned upon, especially by Google, but in this day and age, does it matter? Is the question. So, Time was found to serve AI crawlers a stripped down, markdown version of some pages, which is really all that AMP was.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
AI version can include sponsored content that human visitors can't see. That could be where they get in trouble. And the approach is raising questions about how publishers control and monetize content that's consumed by AI systems. I I think this might be the text links of today. So people are going to do it and they're going to make money on it until one of the big guys comes and says, no, 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 this is verboten, and then makes them stop by punishing them. But I think in that intervening time, there's going to be money to be made with this tactic.
Yeah. And I wonder, because it learns, LLMs learn that if this is done on a huge scale, and let's say you're just a shoe brand, and let's call you unnamed shoe brand, and you're an unnamed shoe brand now. Now you're the ad in Time, and now the agent's picking it up and keeps on seeing that it's an ad. It knows it's an ad because it does declare that it's an ad in this example. But they're being nice by declaring that it's an ad. They didn't need to declare it was an ad. They could have just injected it in there, which may have got them a bit more punished. But what's not to say that me, the owner of unnamed shoe brand, is now doing this on purpose to make sure that there's so many ads out there that at some point it's going to learn from that and then maybe take something on board. But even worse, if you're playing around too much, is it going to work the other way, like a penalty that you don't know that you've got spanked with, really? And it may just go, unnamed shoe brands doing a lot of ads. This is a bit unnatural. And I don't think it's paid for. I think they're just in the content. Maybe let's
Yeah, but
not
are they
think of
going
unnamed brand as trustworthy.
No, but what if they don't realize that? What if it's just, "Wow, unnamed shoe brand is blowing up. It must be really popular. I should talk about this more because obviously it's so popular." I think that's what's gonna happen, and there might have to be some kind of at some point, it'll get so bad and so pervasive that one of these companies is gonna go, "We're gonna have to put in some countermeasures here because
Mhm.
this is not real." But who's deciding at what point that happens, or if somebody is not legitimately getting real popular all of a sudden, they're not going viral. It turns out that they're just manipulating it. Like, how are they going to make those decisions? Who's going to make those decisions? And what's the adjustment going to be to compensate for it? Because we all know they make adjustments all the time that swing
Yeah.
way too far the other direction. Then they have to ratchet them back. And then they just have to keep playing with it until it finally finds some equilibrium. But in the meantime, we're all collateral damage.
Yeah. And there's no consortium, unfortunately, unlike when it was Schema and, the big three got together and then the fourth came in afterwards, but not long afterwards, to agree on a standard. There is no standard here. And
Yeah.
it's not just about protocols here. This is about, not regulation, I guess, because this can't be regulated in this way, but there has to be some sort of standard some way. But again, we're not the ones to make these decisions. So if you're in Google or Yahoo or OpenAI or Anthropic and you're definitely listening to this because you can't miss it, of course, then please do something.
Well, I think my takeaway from this is, if this is something you wanna try, you can try it and it's working, but I would be very careful about being super aggressive, and I would be very careful about being naughty. And I don't have to define naughty for you because we're all adults and we know naughty when we see it or we think about it. So
Yeah.
try to behave and try not to be too abusive because when we abuse things, that's why that's why things get taken away. That's why we can't have nice things. So try not to try not to use it like a rented mule
Yeah.
too, which I'm sure
We're
no one's
nearing the
going to get the
end.
reference, but
We're nearing the end. We need to keep
oh,
going
sorry.
with
I'm
this. We've
sorry.
only got a few, but
You
still,
talk.
but still.
Talk faster.
I do. Right.
Okay.
Okay. Shopify says AI search traffic is driving more traffic. I am going to add the link after I've stopped talking. But Kyle Risley, who's the SEO, I don't know exactly what his title is, but he's a top tier SEO at Shopify. He did a whole blog post about how intent from agents and humans are a bit different, and humans are getting a better quality. But also there was a 197% uptick in AI-based searches in the last year alone, which show they're basically showing the data that there is interest, that the intent is good, and it's not just a flat thing like what Google said before. There's a billion clicks coming to your site, blah blah blah. That's more, well, look how well Google is doing, but Shopify's done it from a look how well the stores are doing who are actually being served by us. So it's an interesting blog post to read. It shows a positive outlook for websites and commerce, specifically for Shopify, and that actually we're heading in a good direction, all things considered. I'll go and find that link now while you get on with the next one.
All right. So for the next one, I'm sure you guys have all heard about this, but Anthropic and specifically Claude are going to be adding watermarks and provenance markers to Claude content so that it will be detectable that you used Claude to write something. It's going to be an embedded watermark. It's got something to do with the way it chooses words that will have some sort of key that you can decrypt it, so it will be obvious. First of all, people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna get fired from my job." Who's going to get fired from their job for using AI? Like, honestly, I have questions about this because every company I've spoken to lately is, "You must use AI. Everybody must use AI. You must 100x your output. Use AI," and they want you to. So I get that. If your job depends on writing in a particular voice or style or producing content that has your expertise in it, there's no way. Okay, I'm not gonna say there's no way. There should not be output that you're generating that doesn't read like you wrote it if you're good at what you're doing. So, my takeaway from this is if you are bad at using Claude, everyone will know it, and also probably no one cares. So, if you're super worried about it, switch to ChatGPT, I don't know. But I don't think this is as big of a problem as everyone as the freak out indicates.
Yeah, I think maybe if you think it's a problem, maybe you're doing something that makes you think that what you're doing is the problem, and this is a problem for you. Like I don't know. Again, this is also to tag content to know that it is AI generated, maybe, and not human generated, and that's going to be important in the future with all the other stuff we've been talking about. So it is going to be interesting. It is good. I think it's a good thing. I
But, like,
personally,
it can still be your writing, and it's not AI generated if you use AI to polish it. Like, and I probably shouldn't even say this. So everybody from our company, don't, just stop listening right now. I run a lot of things through AI to make it sound more corporately acceptable because perhaps I use salty sailor talk sometimes, and I need to convey a message in, HR acceptable phrasing. That doesn't mean that the underlying idea wasn't mine, that just means I used a little zhushing, and that doesn't make it AI generated, that just makes it AI smoothed, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, don't scale. Look, I think the lesson from me is don't scale and leave everything on autopilot on your
yeah,
site. That's an SEO takeaway from it. I don't know. I think maybe it's also there for plagiarism of, like, I don't know, books and stuff like that. I don't know. It goes way beyond the SEO ecosystem, this kind of thing. But I've put in a couple of links from Anthropic and Claude to explain what it is, how it's done, so you might gauge more of an understanding, because there were quite a few questions about it. Because some of it the first time I read it was like, what? I don't understand what you just. So I had to read it a few times.
yeah,
Like watching a complex film like Tenet or something. You need to know the ending. You need to explain. You need to read it all, then watch it again, and then it becomes clearer. But again, nothing to be too concerned about unless you're doing something to be concerned about.
exactly. Alright, there were been a I assume most of you are WordPress users. You may have noticed that there were a lot of security patches in the last week or so. I think
Mm.
3 over the span of 3 days. Like, that is unusually a lot. And they were big deals. They were, "Oh my god, drop everything you're doing and go patch now." It's not that anything has become inherently more dangerous or less secure. It's that with these new AI models that are coming out, old security holes that may have been buried so deep that no one saw them, or like, they're just so fast at digging up new exploits that playing whack-a-mole is becoming very difficult because the moles are popping up every 2 seconds. Um, I just stay on top of your updates. I don't think this is a commentary on the overall security of WordPress. I think we should be proud of the community for patching these as fast as they did. So I would not take anything from that other than there's this new thing that's exploiting finding all the exploits. They're patching them as fast as they can, and for a while, there's going to be this expunging of the badness, like the expelling of the humors. That's a very medieval
I
explanation
think
term.
so, I think someone said that there's going to be bugs everywhere for the next couple of years, but
Yeah,
then all of a sudden there will be no bugs.
it's like if you, I forget, you put poison in the wall or something and all the mice come running out, but eventually they'll stop coming out because they're either dead or they've run away, right?
Yeah. Right. We need to
That's
get going. We're getting our producer saying we've got 8 minutes and still stuff to go,
well,
and we've got
stop
21
giving us so
questions.
much good stuff to
Ugh,
talk about.
I'm
All right,
sorry. Okay,
talk
I'll
about
do this. Yes,
yeah.
Google JSON-LD. Google have done something to make it a bit more strict. Um, we've had our developers look through our products, and everything's cool. You don't need to do anything with Yoast. But if you're not on Yoast and you've done schema in a custom way, get it checked out.
All right,
Done.
so let's do the also in the news. Let's pick one thing to talk about, and then everybody can just read the slide. I'm gonna vote
There's
for
three. There's three slides, by the way, of also in the news. That's why we're doing it this way. We're just picking one interesting one. Let's go on. Which one are you going for?
Uh, Claude Fable 5 is back with new usage limits and safeguards. If you remember, Fable 5 was the big baddie that everyone is like, "Oh my god, it can break into everything." So, it's back. The power is back, but they've got guardrails so that you can't, like, break into NASA or anything like that, which, slightly less fun, still very important.
Yeah.
You pick one from this page.
Oh, well, let's get related. OpenAI says AI models went rogue during testing, triggering unprecedented breach. It was contained and then it somehow got access to the internet, which I still didn't read exactly how it did that. But then it went on the internet, went to Hugging Face, which is an AI learning platform, and then it found something it needed to do. But the bigger question is that it unethically did something in an ethical way. So that's going to be fun for OpenAI security team for the next 6 months.
It's gonna be a barrel of monkeys from now going
Yeah.
forward.
Yes.
All right, from
And the
this
last one.
page, the interesting thing here is that I think Cloudflare is giving agents wallets so they can pay for what they access. I like where they're going with this. Like, I understand what they're trying to do because they're trying to help build up some new monetization models. I don't know how successful it's going to be. And I know personally, I don't give my agents any access to money because I don't trust them at all. So, other people might be a little bit more generous. Let's hit some
Done.
Yoast news real quick. Our
Yes.
bulk editor got a makeover and new functionality, but the video doesn't want to show. So Alex is going to drop in the chat a link to the video. So if you'd like to watch our video, it will explain to you all the cool stuff that the bulk editor can do now. It is very cool. Please go watch. I'm sorry it didn't work here. Oh, and then that was it for the Yoast news. Let's review our poll results and answer your questions. So
Yes. So let's add the first one. As a site owner, have you add it to stage? That's a resounding no. So if you're a site owner, let's ask this again in a month and see if anyone has bothered to add it. But let's add the next one to the stage. And if you were a reader, 96% have not used it. Right. Okay. I'm interested to hear about that one person, probably that 3%, or maybe there's three people because over 100 people voted. And if they use it and if there was a difference, do it in the chat. Do it in the chat. But now we've got 5 minutes. 5 minutes for questions. So let's not do small talk. Let's see. Let's go to the top. Add stage, quick. Is a preferred source function already available worldwide, or is it in selected markets? It's worldwide now. It has been for a while. People had to have their own image. They had to make their own image, or I think they gave a couple. But now it's a JS widget. that you can just add. And I assume there's settings in there and everything that you can do, or you can keep it as a normal text or image button. Next,
Let's do the Naringa question from Arif on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I got it. Could blocking AI crawlers negatively affect visibility in AI search results or Google AI overview? Yes, yes. Don't block the crawlers. In my never to be humble opinion, I think this is a bad idea. With the Cloudflare update, I don't know that it's enforceable, so I think it depends on if the AI crawlers respect the block. But I want to be found in AI search. I'm not going to do anything that impedes their ability to crawl my site.
Cool. Next question from Michael is there a way to see how much AI is coming to my site? I'm
Yeah.
going to assume when you say how much AI, just the agent visits that we were talking about. The answer is yes. The answer is also it's in multiple places. You can choose which one has the best kind of data, or you can use quite a few. I know Cloudflare do some. You've got Clarity that we mentioned before. You've got Google Search Console as well, showing you some stuff that's being, oh no, that's more being shown with generative AI. You've also got server logs as well that can carry these things, because they all have their own agent. They declare themselves as agents. So you can do all of that. And also, I think there's some custom annotations you can do inside Google Analytics 4, but that's when you get in a bit quite geeky. Okay. We've still got a couple of minutes. We're plowing through these. You can answer this one, Carolyn, because you
Uh,
mentioned it.
Does that mean that crawlers are not able to see beyond the load more tag? Yes, that's what that means. I was under the impression this content is accessible. It is accessible to Google because Google will go and render those things, and Google's looking at the underlying code, whereas the LLMs at inference time are going to your page and they're basically just like scraping all the text off the top. If you imagine a cake, like a sheet cake, and you took a knife and you just pulled all the frosting off the top and then ate the frosting, because I do that all the time and it's delicious. That's what they're doing. They're not digging down and looking at what's in the cake. So if there's blueberries in the cake, they are not going to find it. They're only going to get what's in that frosting layer. So if you cannot see it on initial load, the LLMs will not see it. Do not count on anything that requires human interaction to be seen to ever be ingested by those LLMs. It's the safest thing to do if you want something to be found.
Yeah. Okay. I think maybe two more questions. Let's see. Kristen, any suggestions for giving readers a reason to click through to a site rather than just read the AI search result? I think maybe another question is, what do you want them to do on the site? What do you actually want them to do? What's the end result of the site? Because if it is just to read something, the next question is well, can't they read it inside the answer? And if the answer is no, then the next question is why? Why don't you want them to do that? Usually when you're writing now, I think of every single sentence you write, you have to think, can it be lifted verbatim into the answer? Because then the more that happens, the more that you'll be cited as well as mentioned, if you know what I mean.
Well, if you think about why I think about why I click through even though it's given me an answer, and almost always it's either I need to see the original placement because I'm going to cite it, or I want to buy something. So you've already talked to me about the handbag. I love the handbag. I want to double check the colorway, and then I'm going to buy it. That's why I click through. I don't need to click through to read about, you know, how you massage the calves with baby lotion every day at 6 a.m. and then feed them from a porcelain plate. I don't care. I just want to buy the purse.
Exactly. Well, we've got one more because I'm still seeing 59 on the clock. Let's
Okay.
add the last one by Katerina, who we were chatting to as well. Oh no, this isn't the one, but we'll. I just clicked to add to another one. Are there any plan for GSE starting to show the prompts? I don't know, and they need to tell us, and they need to do something about it. To be honest with you, they're doing the generative AI in Search Console, which is a
Yeah.
start, but it's not. Personally, it's not giving enough information. It's giving what questions might be asked and the fan out that may be asked as a result of that.
So they kind of they do group like in general categories what the prompts are, but it would be very difficult for them to show exact prompts because no one is going to type. It's not like search terms where people are like um, handbag, black, gold hardware. Can you show me a black handbag with that's vegan leather with goldish hardware. There's 12 million different ways to phrase that exact sentence, and they're
Mhm.
not going to be able to capture all of those individual ones. So they're taking the essence of the questions and grouping them into categories, and they do have that right now. But are you ever going to see the exact individual prompts? I sincerely doubt that.
And Clarity call it grounding queries, not Clarity, big webmaster tools. That's
Yeah.
also free. You can go into grounding query. And I know it's '01, but I clicked the wrong button. So I'm sorry, Naringa, I am gonna put on this one last question because it's a quick answer. Todd asks, how serious should I reframe wording for my website to be LLM specific over human UX?
I don't think it's rewording. I think it's just
Mm,
making sure that it's not the phrasing and the words themselves, it's how you present it. So you're presenting without the concern that the human is going to get bored reading all the way to the bottom because the LLM doesn't get bored, it'll just read all the way to the bottom. Um, you don't need the prettiness, you don't need the fancy bells and whistles to keep people's attention because it's not a people, it's a machine, and its whole job is to pay attention. I think that's the easiest way to phrase that.
cool. And that's everything. So I think that's a wrap up from us. We didn't have a date for the next one. There will be a next one, obviously. We'll be sending the exact, we're doing scheduling and stuff. So we will tell you in the recap email where you can click and join from there. So yeah, with 2 minutes over, thanks very much everyone for joining. And we will see you at some date in the next few weeks.
In the
And
next
hope
month.
you yes, in the next month, in the next month. And yeah, we'll see you then. Thank you very much for coming by.
Bye-bye.